What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions and the NFL in its entirety is opening up the free agent market on March 17th, being just 2 weeks away from the opening of free agency frenzy and 2 weeks away from the Lions having the ability to start signing new talent and bringing in new players to the organization. Today, I wanted to go over the top free agent targets for the Detroit Lions. Guys that I think can be here for a long time, guys that I think can make immediate impacts as long as long-term impacts, and guys in general that the Detroit Lions and many other NFL teams will look to target when the market opens on March 17th. Now, before we get into these top free agent targets for the Detroit Lions, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes just 2 seconds out of your day to do so. It's quick, free, and easy. As I said, it takes just 2 seconds out of your day, and if you could do so, it would help the channel out tremendously. But with all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into looking at the top free agent targets for this year's market and look at some of the top prospects the Lions should look to bring in on March 17th. Now, this list is in no particular order for the Detroit Lions. However, when I was creating this list, I wanted to prioritize age, obviously talent, obviously cost, and guys that I think could very easily and realistically fit into the Lions system and what they're looking to do as they look to build this roster and make it competitive for the 2021 season. Now, with the first target we'll be talking about today, it's a guy that we've talked about numerous times on the channel, and that is, of course, I'm sure you all knew it was coming, wide receiver Corey Davis. Now, wide receiver is a huge need for the Detroit Lions this offseason as they are only set to return, and as of right now, are only set to return Quintez Cephus and Geronimo Allison back to the receiving room. Now, Corey Davis is a 6'3", 209-pound wide receiver, is currently playing with the Tennessee Titans, but formerly being a Western Michigan Bronco. Now, he is a Michigan boy. He's a former Michigan football player, and I believe would enjoy coming back to Detroit to play for his hometown team. Now, Corey Davis last season with the Tennessee Titans in just 14 games played totaled 65 receptions for the Titans, totaling 984 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. As I said, in only 14 of the 16 games, and obviously not including the playoffs. Now, Corey Davis has very solid hands as he only had 3 drops on 92 total targets. The Lions last year struggled tremendously with that dropping problem. They had a lot of wide receivers dropping a lot of footballs and were top 5 in the NFL in dropped footballs last season. Corey Davis will help with that tremendously. Corey Davis will come in as a sure-handed wide receiver and I believe can take on that Marvin Jones role. He can be the next Marvin Jones for the Detroit Lions. He's only 26 years old. He's a very, very good young wide receiver, a former Michigan football player, a guy that could want to come back to his hometown, a guy that could want to come play for his childhood team, and a guy that the Lions should look to add back to this wide receiver room to really give a spark and really try to reintroduce a big body, jump ball, deep threat wide receiver that currently is not on the roster. Now, with the second target of free agency and the second target the Lions should look to go after when the free agent market opens, this is a guy that is a little off script. This is a guy that I haven't heard a lot of Lions fans talk about, but a guy that I think when I was going through this free agent class that can bring a lot of production and can help the Lions tremendously without being the flashiest player. Now, this player is a player on the offensive line, and although he is 13 years of age, I believe would be a very big addition to this Lions offense. Now, who is this player, you may be asking, and who is the second target of this free agency frenzy? Well, for me, the second target the Lions should look to go after is Brandon Scherff, the guard who currently and as of last season played for the Washington football team. Now, Brandon Scherff would fill out a big need for the Detroit Lions, filling in at that second guard position, whether you want to move Jonah back to right guard and place him at left guard, or you want to just keep Jonah Arizona at left guard and place Brandon Scherff at right guard. Both of them are flexible guard players, and both of them can play either role at a high level. Adding this guard and adding Brandon Scherff to the team would instantly help the Detroit Lions and would instantly fill out and complete their offensive line, assuming you are okay keeping Tyrell Crosby out there, which I would not be completely opposed to. Brandon Scherff would let the Lions have 5 strong at the offensive lineman, as Decker would be at the left tackle, Jonah Jackson would be at the left guard, Frank Ragnow would be at the center, Brandon Scherff would be at that right guard position, holding down the right side of the offensive line as a very good, solid veteran, and then you could have Tyrell Crosby or Big V fill in at that right tackle position, depending on who you think is better, who's playing better, who has the hot hand, or however you want to rotate that right tackle around, and however you want to decide who will start at the right guard position. Now, last year for the Washington football team, Brandon Scherff had a very good season for Washington. He played in 857 snaps for the team, allowing just 2 penalties and 3 sacks. As I said, an older veteran player, I believe 30 years old, and will be 31 years old going into next season. However, a guy that I think can still play for 2 or 3 seasons down the line at a high level, and a guy that would be bringing a veteran presence in, a guy that would complete the offensive line and really give the Lions 5 strong across the offensive line as they look to build around Jared Goff. Now, the third target in this free agent class, and the third player the Lions should look to go after in this free agency period, is actually one of my favorite free agents in the class, and that is Eric Wilson, the linebacker out of the Minnesota Vikings organization. Now, Eric Davis stands at 6'1" and 230 pounds at the linebacker position last year for the Minnesota Vikings, and in just the 2020 season alone, Eric Wilson totaled 122 total tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 8 passes defended, and 3 interceptions. Now, those are not his career stats. Those are just the stats from the 2020 season, as 2020 was really the first time that Wilson saw significant snaps and really saw significant time, playing 96% of the snaps last year on that Vikings defense. Now, the fact that he has not been a consistent producer in the NFL should lower his price just a little bit, and I view Eric Wilson as a little bit of an underrated player, a little bit of an underrated free agent, a guy that I don't think is going to get all the hype in the world, a guy that I don't even think is going to be the most hyped linebacker in this free agent class, but a linebacker nonetheless that can produce, a linebacker that can make plays, a linebacker who's only 26 years old and still has a lot of good years ahead of him, and a guy that in his first real opportunity seeing really consistent snaps made the absolute most and was arguably the MVP of that Minnesota Vikings defense. This guy can rush the passer, he can cover, he's a playmaking linebacker, and in my opinion, viewing him on the Minnesota Vikings is the exact linebacker that Aaron Glenn is looking for to bring in, and is the exact linebacker that he would love to coach up in Detroit. Now, moving on to the fourth target of the afternoon and bringing on the fourth target of this free agency period. This is a guy that had a lot of connections to the Detroit Lions. This is a guy that has a lot of connections with the Lions coaching staff and has been connected and rumored to be going to the Detroit Lions for several weeks at this point. Now, you obviously likely know who this player is at this point, and it is, of course, Marcus Williams, the safety from the New Orleans Saints. As I said, has been rumored and connected to the Detroit Lions because of his connection and because of his previous work with, obviously, our new defensive coordinator in Aaron Glenn, along with our new head coach in Dan Campbell, both very recently coming from that Saints organization where Marcus Williams saw so much of his early success. Now, Marcus Williams as a safety stands at 6'1", 195 pounds. Last year for the New Orleans Saints totaled 59 total tackles, 7 passes defended, and 3 interceptions. In his entire career, in his first 4 seasons as a pro, Marcus Williams has 13 interceptions and 30 passes defended. He's a very good, rangy free safety, and although I'd like to see Tracy Walker play at that free safety position, I think Marcus Williams, if he does want to come here, if he does want to reunite with the defensive backs coach coach that has given him and has helped him achieve all of his success and all of the great success that he has seen in the NFL. I think that connection could be a big reason as to why Marcus Williams signs with the Lions. And if Aaron Glenn wants to run a 2 high safety set, whether that be a cover 2 system, a cover 4 system, or something else that utilizes 2 high safeties, I think Tracy Walker and Marcus Williams could both be used incredibly effectively, filling out a big need for the Detroit Lions, bringing in a big free safety playmaker, a veteran that's played in an Aaron Glenn type system before, and a player that would just bring a lot of talent and a lot of success to the Detroit Lions while still being an incredibly young player in his own right. Now, Marcus Williams will likely cost a lot of money. He's been a very productive free safety in the NFL for 4 seasons at this point, has never had a season with less than 2 interceptions, and is always around the ball and always making plays for that Saints defense. Now, I think this is a guy the Lions should very heavily pursue. Obviously, the coaching connections between Marcus Williams and Aaron Glenn are very strong. They obviously very much like each other, as Aaron Glenn was a top defensive coordinator candidate and was very, very liked by his defensive backs in New Orleans. Marcus Williams should be a top priority and should be a top target for the Detroit Lions this season, as I said, would just bring in a big playmaking free safety to pair with Tracy Walker and really make it tough to pass deep on this Lions franchise and on this Lions team as they look to rebuild this defense. Now, the 5th and final target is a guy that is a little bit lesser known, as a guy that isn't being talked about a lot to the Lions, but a guy that I think is still relatively young and still has a little bit of upside while being incredibly cheap for the Detroit Lions to bring in. Now, the 5th and final target for today's video that I wanted to take a look at was Solomon Thomas, the edge rusher out of San Francisco. Now, Thomas has never really produced elite production in the NFL, totaling only 6 sacks in his first 3 seasons as a pro. However, he is a former top 5 pick in the NFL draft, being the number 3 pick in the NFL draft in the 2017 NFL season. And although he's never really produced a bunch at the NFL level, was incredibly productive in college, was incredibly productive at Stanford, and as I said, would be a very cheap, young, and high upside player for the Detroit Lions to bring in if they want to bring in another solid rotational pass rusher. A guy in Solomon Thomas that is going to be cheap, is still young, I believe is also only 26 years of age, and a guy that still has quite a bit of upside being so young and being still in a position to be developed by a good defensive Lions coach. Solomon Thomas, I think, is a very underrated signing. I think he's a guy that the Lions could bring in as a rotational guy, being a low risk, incredibly high reward. Either you get a decent rotational pass rusher for incredibly cheap in Solomon Thomas, or you sign him for incredibly cheap, and our new defensive Lions coach helps Solomon Thomas reach his full potential and helps him develop into the player that many people saw him when he was coming out of Stanford. Now, with all of that being said, those are my top 5 free agent targets that the Lions should be looking for when the free agent market opens up on March 17th. Those are 5 guys that I think the Lions should take a look at. Obviously, it's probably not realistic that we get all 5 of those candidates. However, if we were to get 2, 3, 4, or even, especially if we were to get all 5 of these candidates, all 5 of these guys would come in, make incredible contributions to the Detroit Lions early, and most of them, with the lone exception of Brandon Scherff, are below 26 years old and could be a member of the Detroit Lions for 3, 4, maybe even 5 seasons down the line. With all of that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Those are my top free agent targets for the Detroit Lions. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about these targets specifically and what targets you would like to add to the list. I'd be very curious to hear where you guys think the Lions should go, what free agents you want the Lions to acquire, and what free agents you would like to see the Lions target when free agency officially opens. But with all of that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, and I think there will be some Lions news coming out in the very near future, I will obviously make a video letting every single person know. But until then, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you all for watching. Bye, guys.